All right, guys. So today, we're going to start learning how to solve systems using the substitution method. And today is just going to be the intro portion to this, where we're just going to understand the concepts and just maybe like the first one or two steps, and that's it. We're not going to do the entire problem. Now, we are going to work on just substituting in, right? For the top half, and then for the bottom half, we're going to learn how to sub and then solve for the first letter and go from there. Now, here's some good notes, things to keep in mind. In order to use substitution, one of the letters must be alone on one side of the equal sign. Example, x equals stuff or y equals stuff. You'll see what I mean. And then you're going to substitute, replace the stuff from step one into the second equation's matching letter. This sounds like a bunch of blah, 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 blah. It's actually not that bad. When we actually do a problem, it'll make a lot more sense. Bear with me. So let's jump right into this. Okay, for this top half, we're going to learn how to just sub it in and answer a simple question. When I say that, I mean this. I have two equations, top equation and a bottom equation. One of my equations is solved for a variable. It has y equals stuff, right? The bottom one is all jumbled around, so this is the one I'm going to focus on. Now, this says y equals 7, just like 7 equals y. It's just y equals 7, right? Knowing that, what I can do is I can take this stuff that it's equal to, so y equals 7, so I can plug in 7 wherever I see y. So watch this. I'm going to rewrite this bottom equation over here. So my 2x, nothing happening. My plus 5, but instead of y, I'm going to plug in 7 and then finish it out, equals 12. So notice, this was rewritten over here. The only thing that I left out is I took out my y and I subbed in my 7. And I always use parentheses when I plug things into equations. It's a good habit. Just do it. And so that's it. There we go. And so when I answer the question, what letter is only left when you substitute? Well, after we substituted, there is only one letter left. And what is it? X. And that's why substitution is necessary, because when you do substitution correctly, you will have only one letter in which you can actually solve, get an answer, and continue on the problem, which we'll start doing another day. Let's do one more together. Let's do a harder one. Let's do one like this, right? So when I'm looking at this, top and bottom, which one has a variable by itself? You're right, the bottom, okay? Y equals stuff right down here. The top one's all jumbled up. Now I always box off this stuff. So this 3x plus 2 is what y is equal to. And I'm going to draw a line to this letter in the other equation. So y equals this stuff. I'm going to draw a line because I'm going to plug this stuff in for y. So watch me here. I'm going to rewrite my top equation. 5x, nothing's happening yet. Minus 6, I'm rewriting exactly as is. Now instead of y, I'm going to open some parentheses, and I'm going to plug in this 3x plus 2. And then finish writing it out, equals 22. Notice, I took my top equation and I rewrote it exactly. The only difference is my y has been removed and my stuff has been substituted in, the 3x plus 2. And that's it. That's all you guys have to do. We'll work on solving this more another day, but for right now, what is the only letter left after you substitute? Well, again, I'm left with x. It's not always going to be x, it just happened in these, these two instances. I want you guys to try these two on your own. Go for it. Okay, guys, hopefully you have these as your answers. You may have gotten some wrong. That's okay. We learn from our mistakes, especially when we're doing this, big boy and girl mathematics here. Now for this one, my top equation had the isolated variable x equals some stuff. So I circled my stuff, boxed it, I should say, and I plug it in for x, okay? So I rewrote my bottom equation over here. This looks just like this. The only difference is I took my x out and I subbed in my negative 2y. And that was it. That's my setup. Obviously, when I look at this now, I only see y's, so only what I left is y. The last one. I'm sure you struggle a little bit on this. That's okay. It's okay. Both of these, top and bottom, were both solved for a letter. It was x equals stuff, right? So you could have chose either one to box off. It doesn't matter. You'll get the same answer either way. In this case, I just boxed off the first one. So x equals this stuff, 2y plus 100. And because x is equal to this, I can plug this in anytime I see x. So I drew a line to the x in the other equation, and that's exactly what I did. I rewrote this equation right here. The only difference is, I'll use some parentheses so you guys see it. X was taken out, and I plugged in the 2y plus 100 equals 9y minus 7. So it's literally the exact same thing, a little bit different, but I was left with y's, I put y's. And that's it. We're done, guys, with the top half. Now let's go into the bottom half. So for the bottom, I'm gonna do a hard one, and you guys are gonna try some of the easy ones. So let me do this one over here. And we just talked about this one, so it's kind of perfect. I have two equations, top and bottom. This top one is going to be solve for stuff. The bottom one is solve for stuff. I'm just gonna, like I said, choose the top one. So y is equal to this box. I'm gonna plug this box in for y. So let's rewrite this down. 3x plus 4 equals 4x minus 10. I rewrote the bottom equation, but I took out the y and I plugged in the 3x plus 4. And just like this says, we're going to substitute and solve for the first letter. So we're going to solve for this. Now, there's nothing for me to distribute out here, so if I want to, I can rewrite this without any parentheses. And now I'm going to solve. Well, right here, I got nothing to distribute. No combining like terms. But what I do have is I have an x on both sides here, correct? So what I'm going to do is I can move either my 3x to the right or 4x to the left. I'm going to go this one. It's a positive 3x, so I do a minus 3x. Draw my line. That cancels. I can bring down my 4. 4x minus 3x, well, 4 minus 3 is 1x. Bring down my plus 10. Now this looks like a two-step. I move my constant first. Well, it's a plus 10, so I do minus 10. 4 minus 10, well, that gives me a negative 6. Equals, I can bring down my 1x, and there we go. Now, we can stop here. Some of you guys are probably screaming at me, oh, but there's a coefficient. You can divide both sides by 1. Well, if I did that, watch what happens. Negative 6 divided by 1 is still negative 6. Nothing changes. When you have a coefficient of positive 1, you can't stop. And that's it. So we're just solving for the first letter, which we did. We're not going to talk about how we can solve for the y, and that's all we're going to do. I'm going to do one more with you guys, and then you are going to do the other. So let's do this middle one. I'm sorry for working backwards, that's how I'm working today. Top equation, x equals stuff. I'm going to box off the stuff, and because this stuff is equal to x, I can plug it in anywhere I see x. So here we go. I'm going to draw an arrow to where I see that x, and I'm going to rewrite this bottom equation. I have negative 6, parentheses, 2y, end parentheses. Rewrite the rest as is. Don't forget any signs, any numbers, any equal signs, any letters. There we go. So, negative 6, took out the x, I plugged in 2y, minus 5y equals 17. And there we go. Now I can solve for the first variable. First things first, I see some parentheses. We're going to multiply / distribute. Negative 6 times 2, negative 12y. Bring down everything else. Guys, I always do one step at a time. I highly recommend you do the same thing. You'll get less mistakes. Next, combine like terms. Well, on the right side, I only see a 17. It's got no friends. On the left side, I see two terms, and they both have a number and a variable. Number, same variable, so I can combine these. Negative 12 minus 5, typed in a calculator, is a negative 17. Don't forget the y. Bring down the rest. This is a coefficient. We divide both sides by a coefficient. That cancels. Y equals 17 divided by negative 17, negative 1. There we go. All right, guys. I mean, it looks like a lot of work, but it's really not that bad. It's a lot of fun. I want you guys to do this one on your own. Okay, hopefully you guys had this wonderful work as your answer. My top equation had the y equals stuff. So I was able to plug in this stuff anywhere I seen a y, which I put my arrow. And guys, drawing those arrows really helps because sometimes kids mistakenly will plug it in for the wrong variable. And this helps you pick, okay, is equal to y, I plug it in for y. It should always match, right? And then, yeah, I distributed. I had two steps, so I moved my constant, moved my coefficient, and I was left with x equals 3. And that's it, guys. Done deal. All right? So, if you need to rewatch this, go ahead and do so. Practice makes perfect. Rewatch the video. Have a great day. Stay healthy. Stay safe.